My job on D-Day, fortunately, was not in the first wave. If it had been, I'd been like the boys of Bedford, Virginia. The 116th, which was Virginia National Guard, so many of them were killed. My job, my company, was in support, and we did not get on a ship. We got on a landing craft in Plymouth, England. Over 200, the company strength was 185, but we were in there with the, we were there to guard the regimental commander and his staff. That was our duty on June the 6th. We landed middle of the morning, I don't recall what time. I was seasick most of the way in that landing craft. I couldn't wait to get on the land. And when I got there, the water where we got off, it was above my waist. And I had a friend who was about 5, 7, 8, and I had to help him, keep him from drowning. We got ashore without much effort. When we got there, we saw all the dead Americans. I expected to see maybe German soldiers dead, but I wasn't expecting to see Americans. People who were wearing the same patch I had, the blue and gray patch on his left shoulder. My day on June 6th was not as bad as some had. We went up over the bank, over the hill, and my first night was spent in what is now the cemetery that you see in movies now and you see in newsreels. That's where I spent the first night. Well, we did our first day's duty, and then we regrouped with our company and regiment and started in the hedgerow fighting. We had, as I previously mentioned, we had 185 men in the company. Out of those 185 men, not one person who landed on the beach on D-Day and who was there at the end of the war had not either been killed or wounded one. We had over 300 casualties. While we had more casualties, they would bring replacements up. When someone got really hurt bad or died, they bring in fresh troops and replacements. That's why we had 300 casualties. The first real bad day that I recall was D+4. We had gone through the hedgerows, and with not too much effort, some effort, but by that time the Germans counterattacked. And they tore us to pieces. We lost so many men that day, I don't even know how many. I had 6 different company commandos during that next 2 or 3 months. I was in the foxhole on D+4, might have been D+5, when an artillery shell came over and killed the guy in the foxhole with me, and I didn't get a scratch. You never know, why not me? You always wonder, why not me? Well, we kept fighting through the hedgerows, which was a terrible place, and what a hedgerow was. Over the years and years, the farmers had dug ditches, and they put the dirt, when they dug the ditches, put the dirt on piles, and it became sort of a hedge, a row of hedges. And we would be on one side, and the Germans would be on the other. One day, I don't recall the exact day, sometime in July, the American Air Force came over, bombed a little town called St. Lo. It's where the Germans were their strongest point. There's so many planes, I don't even recall how many. When I looked up, and they're just full of planes, British and American planes. They dropped the bombs, and unfortunately, they dropped too close to our lives, and many Americans were killed by friendly fire. Finally, St. Lo fell. My outfit went into St. Lo. We were not the first, but the 29th Infantry Division was the first division to go into St. Lo. The people who landed, I told you, the 1st and 29th. We also had 2 Ranger battalions who landed on D-Day. They were the ones who really, and of course, 82nd Airborne and 101st Airborne jumped. And you've seen movies about them jumping into town, and the guy in a parachute landed on a steeple and all that. You've seen that in movies. And let me tell you, the guy who landed on that steeple was from Wilmington, North Carolina. He was in the, I don't know, he was in the 82nd, 101st Airborne. He died about 7, 8, 9 years ago, and had something about him in the paper. Well, after St. Lo fell, our division went to the Percy Hills. And by that time, Patton's army had come from England. Patton was not in the D-Day part. They had saved him for the breakthrough so he could go straight to Paris and then into Germany. Well, the 29th Infantry Division, which I was in, we were assigned the task of taking the city of Brest, which was the submarine headquarters for Germans for all their submarines in Europe, outside, of course, outside of Germany. And that was our task. And they had many German troops there because it's important to try to save it. We fought and fought, and people get hurt and killed. It was, all of us were scared to death the whole time. Nobody was that brave. Everybody was, people who were brave were ones who were scared. We approached the city of Brest, and overlooking there was an open field and a bunch of pillboxes. And the battalion I was in was assigned to duty to capture the pillboxes so the rest of the outfit could advance towards Brest. Well, we advanced, got to the pillbox without too much trouble, and then the Germans counterattacked. I saw a German right about, wasn't much further than here, way a little bit further than here. And I fired, and then somebody from over there, I was looking this way, and somebody from over there fired. I was in a foxhole. It hit me in the heck. There was a guy in the foxhole with me, a new guy who had just joined the outfit. The only thing I knew about him was, his name was Titsworth, and he was from Tampa, Florida. But anyway, I got wounded, got shot. Stayed up there that night, and my outfits advanced, and I got back to my outfit. And I went to a regimental battalion's aid station, and they put me on a hood of a Jeep. And I went to a hospital, a MASH-type hospital, just like you see in the movies. And when I got there, the doctor looked at me and called all the other doctors in there and said, "Listen, I want you to look at this boy. He got shot through the neck. He's still talking, he's still alive." So all the doctors came in and looked at me because it was so unusual. And then it patched me up and put me in a Jeep and carried me to an airport. I got on the C-47 and flew me to Birmingham, England, where I was in the hospital for 6 weeks about. Then they said that I thought I was had what's called a $1 million wound. I had a chance to come back to America, but no, they said you're going to rejoin your outfit. So I rejoined my outfit and got back with them sometime around the 1st of November of 1944. And stayed with them, and then we were near the Ruhr River, across from a little town in Germany, a little town of Jülich, which was the west point of Germany, where they had training for officers. But one time, we didn't cross that one, we stayed on one side. I remember seeing, the first time in my life I saw a jet plane come over. It was a German jet. We crossed the Ruhr River. I saw a guy right in front of me, got in little boats and crossed the river, got on the other side, and the guy walking right on in front of me stepped on the landmine. I'm sure he took his foot or his leg off. We followed on and went to Mönchengladbach, which at that time was the biggest German city captured by the Americans.